What is up, YouTube? My name is Like the Yeti, and this is a new series that I want to start on my channel. Basically, let's build a zoo with a zookeeper. I mentioned in a couple other videos that outside of YouTube, my main job is a zookeeper. I have a biology degree, and I've been in the field for about 5 years, and I absolutely love Planet Zoo. I think it's super realistic. This is not an ad, but like, hit me up if you want it to be. So I'm starting this off with one of my favorite animals on the planet. This is going to be a Clouded Leopard video, and we're going to just kind of build an enclosure. We're going to build an exhibit. I bounced around ideas on what to call this. I was thinking like building the perfect enclosure, because there is no perfect enclosure. It's all kind of subjective. They all have their needs, and it kind of varies cat to cat and animal to animal. So there's always minimums, but the perfect enclosure doesn't really exist, in my opinion. It's all kind of based on your facility that you have, the space that you have, what the animal needs, and things like that. So I think this is just going to be a let's build, and I'll tell you guys some fun facts along the way. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you really enjoy this series, and I would love to keep this going. Let me know the next animal you guys want to see. I'll see you in the next one. So guys, just jumping straight into this. To begin, I gave myself a couple guidelines. I had to use the minimum size enclosure. So this is just a rough draft of the little box that I'm working with. The barriers don't really matter, because what kind of matters is what is on the inside. And I mean, that's kind of philosophical if you think about it. This was an hour-long build that I have at 600% speed to get down to about 10 minutes, and I'm going to leave it all in there. This has been a very long time since I picked up Planet Zoo, probably over a year, so I kind of wanted you guys to see my struggles in my building, and I'll kind of talk about each step as we're going through, but I just want you guys to remember that this is just a game at the end of the day, so this doesn't mean that it needs to be a realistic looking exhibit. It doesn't need to be what the best zoo in the world is gonna have. This was just my take on an enclosure, and you'll see at the end that it doesn't even really meet the game's requirements, even though it looks pretty cool. So first thing when building a habitat like this is we got to think about what animal we're working with. So we're working with a feline. With felines, they don't need as much room as people think they do. They just need a place to hide mainly, and by a place to hide, I mean about 4 to 5 places to hide. I don't really make a good example in this video of that, but they need a lot less room in comparison to like canine species that need a lot of room to roam and prowl, because in reality, wolves and canines are not very good hunters in comparison to felines. So felines can spend a lot of time sleeping and up in trees, and they'll jump down, kill something, eat it, all that good stuff, and then they jump back up into the tree and they go back to sleep. Canines, they might have a whole big plan with all of their pack friends or pack family, and they'll go out and execute it, and they only succeed about half the time. So when they're awake, they are prowling and they are looking for food, and they are active much more than their feline counterparts. What we have so far is a fake mountain hill top area. These guys can be found at the bottom of the Himalayas, so I wanted to give them a small, not necessarily a mountain, but something to climb on. These cats are one of the most arboreal animals in the entire world. Arboreal means an animal that lives in the trees, and they are very much suited for it. Clouded leopards have extra wrist joints that allow them to maneuver underneath a tree similar to a sloth. They are also one of only a few animals, I believe only 2 animals, that can descend a tree head first. Keeping these things in mind, I needed all of the items in here to be able to be climbed on. We need climbable trees, we need climbable logs, we need the shelters to not only be shelters, but to also be something that they could climb on top of and survey their surroundings and take naps on top of. So this shelter that I've erected is also a perch, basically. And the hill on the other side, the trees, all of these things are meant to where they can climb on top of them. I'm calling myself out here for a moment. Once the decorating starts, you can kind of see where I start playing around with some of the mechanics and some of the plants and things of that nature. And I have to admit, I am very rusty, so you guys are going to see some blunders that I had along the way. The Clouded Leopard name comes from the patterning that they have. It resembles clouds, and just like how you'll never see the same cloud shape twice, each Clouded Leopard has a different patterning, very similar to a unique fingerprint in humans. So with more trees and stumps going up in the video, let's kind of talk more about life in the trees. Clouded leopards need to spend about 95% of their life up in the tree. Asian rainforest is a very scary place for a small 30 to 50 pound cat. We've already talked about their wrist joints, so if we're looking at their feet, they have very large paws and a very long tail. And if you were checking out this cat, you would think that it was just a small version of what will eventually be a large 100 to 200 pound cat. But that's not the case. These guys do not grow into their large paws or their large tail. That is all for balance. The large paws are used for surface area to make sure they don't lose their balance. And if they start to lose their balance, their tail acts as a counterbalance. I don't think I've ever said balance so many times in a row. The tail will help them steady themselves so they don't fall out of that tree. They could be a good 20, 30, 40, 50 feet up in that tree. And of course they can jump down and eat a small deer. They like to prey on muntjac deer down on the forest floor, but I mentioned before that it's a scary place for a small cat. There's a lot of predators out there, large snakes, crocodiles, larger cats. They don't want to spend a lot of time down there if they don't have to. So another great feature of these large paws is snagging birds and monkeys while you're still hanging out inside that tree. So they are able to jump from branch to branch over 15 feet from tree to tree and snag monkeys and birds right out of the air. While we're talking about hunting, let's talk about these teeth. So they have 2-inch canines. That rivals tigers in tooth size. A cat that is 5 times bigger than these clouded leopards. With these large canines, clouded leopards have the largest tooth to body ratio of any cat on the planet. And when your teeth are that big, you gotta be able to get them around things, so they also have the largest mouth gape of any cat on the planet. Most cats can only open their mouth about 65 degrees, and these guys can get nearly to 100 degrees on their mouth gape. There was even some research being done at one point, thinking that this might be the closest relative to the saber-toothed tiger. At this point, it's kind of unconclusive, but it would make sense. Now, felines are generally broken down into 2 separate categories, big cats and small cats. Very scientific, we know. But the main things that distinguish between the two are their vocal cords and their pupils. Most big cats have round pupils, most small cats have vertical pupils, large cats can roar, small cats can purr. And where does that leave us with the clouded leopards? Well, kind of somewhere in between. Clouded leopards have kind of bounced back and forth between the two over the years, because they can let out a really impressive, I wouldn't call it a roar, but some places consider it a roar. Even in Planet Zoo they call it a roar, but they make a really loud, big leopard noise. But then they also chuff like a tiger, and they meow like a cat. So they've long been in this kind of in-between, this bridge between the big cats and the small cats. Almost a perpetual basal group in the feline family. Back up to our build here for a moment. We're adding in a bridge here to give our clouded leopard some more climbing space, and then we're also adding a hammock that is just super cute napping spot for these guys. I also added a pond, wouldn't call it a lake. Now these guys aren't known for swimming, but it never hurts to add in a little bit of water feature, and I do add in an actual water dish for them as well. Also dropping in here was trying to find the perfect spot for this. For some reason, it wouldn't let me put the food near the door. I think it's because that's where the keepers and the caretakers have to walk in at. So I ended up putting the food dish near the shelter, and this water ended up being kind of tucked away back in this little bamboo forest area. I like it. Now, something you're going to watch me struggle with here very soon is getting all of the essential things in. So here I am purchasing the clouded leopards, and I have to have a keeper hut, I have to have keepers, I have to have the trade center. So you're gonna see me kind of just splot these things in, along with our electricity and our water source as well. So in Planet Zoo, they also have a terrain requirement. The animals need a certain amount of soil or rock, or Arctic animals might need some snow. And I was gonna leave that stuff out and keep this a very bare bones, just build the enclosure kind of episode, but towards the end there you will see me drop down some soil around the pond and around the shelter and around the mountain hill-esque area. I just thought might as well fill it all out while we're working on it. So here we are hiring our vet, our caretaker, and our zookeeper, who are ultimately going to bring the leopards over to their new enclosure. Now the sad portion, because there's always a sad portion with an animal like this. For some reason, all the beautiful animals like this end up on the endangered species list, and while right now they're only listed as vulnerable, they are dwindling in numbers very rapidly due to habitat destruction mainly, and still poaching. Here I was checking the habitat requirements, so I was still being told there wasn't enough room for navigating around or climbing navigation things, so they do have some very good requirements in Planet Zoo, and if you guys just caught what happened there, my Clouded Leopards escaped. I thought I had the fence as a climb-proof option, but I guess not, so they tried to go for a little stroll on me right there. The main destruction of habitat comes from palm oil plantations. So if you're able to limit your palm oil usage or switch from companies that use unsustainable palm oil or bring palm oil in from Asia and instead produce their own palm oil here in the States, that is how you can help out these cats. The other problem with poaching, that's more of a local thing over in Asia. They unfortunately still make fur coats out of these guys. And because of the size of these cats, it could take 20 to 30 cats to make one coat. Sad portion out of the way, I'm going to give you guys a few moments to just listen to the music and observe these beautiful cats. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave me a like, comment on another animal you want to see, and of course, subscribe for more. I had a lot of fun making this kind of video, and I love teaching and having others learn about all these animals that I love so much. Like, subscribe, do all those fun things for me, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.